Very well, thanks. How are you doing?
Good to have you back on the show.
Yeah, great to be back.
Yeah, there are no questions that are illegitimate, as it were, because this is a field that not a lot of everyday people know a lot about, right?
Well, that's right. And a lot of people think they know things and they don't, or they worry and they don't need to. There's lots of questions out there.
Let's get some definitions done first of all. What does it mean when you talk about personal injury? I know that's a wide umbrella, but there is a definition.
Yeah, in terms of what kind of lawyers or what are lawyers doing if they're personal injury lawyers, they're representing people who were injured, usually in car accidents or in slip and falls, where someone else was at fault for the accident.
Right, so mostly car collisions.
Yep.
I would say.
My practice is mostly car collisions, although there are lots of slip and fall accidents too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a responsibility on other drivers and owners of property.
That's right.
That they should be liable for in many cases.
That's right. You know, if you're negligent, you could be held liable, and hopefully you have insurance.
Let me ask you this.
Sure.
How do I know? Not if I'm personally injured, because I know if I'm personally injured.
Right.
But how do I know if someone's liable? Like, how do I understand that so I can maybe recover some monies due to me?
Well, a lot of times in car accidents, in most car accidents, it's obvious, right? If you're hit from behind, you're not at fault.
Right.
If somebody does a left-hand turn in front of you, chances are you're not at fault.
Chances are.
So that, you know, sometimes it's obvious. If the other driver was given a ticket and you weren't, that can be obvious.
Right.
When you call your insurance company and talk about who's going to pay for the damage to your car,
right,
sometimes they'll tell you their perception of who's at fault. That doesn't always govern, but at least it's an indication.
Sometimes it's not so obvious.
That's right.
But there's still fault and maybe claims for personal injury, correct?
Sure, that's right. And one of the things that we offer is a free consultation. So if you've been injured in an accident, you can contact the lawyer.
What about, are there differences between how we operate in Canada under these, under personal injury claims and all that sort of thing versus the United States? Because we get a lot of American influence from this sort of thing, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, the basic principles of negligence are the same across the border. You know, if you're at fault, you're liable. Really, what's different is sort of the quantum. How much money are we talking about?
And it's different here than in the States.
It is different than what you hear about.
I'm not going to get millions of dollars for my suffering.
Sometimes you are, but you got to be really suffering. You know, somebody who suffers a serious spinal cord injury will get millions of dollars if there's that much insurance.
Right.
But your broken leg is not going to get you millions of dollars if you can go back to work.
And my few days off of work are not going to get me multitudes of cash.
Yeah, no, that's
It's not the way it works here?
No, not at all. Pain and suffering, sort of the thing that we talk about, my life is less enjoyable than it was before the accident, has a cap. You can only get, if the most seriously injured person can only get $340,000 for pain and suffering.
For pain and suffering.
That's it. So if you hear about somebody getting millions, it's for things like health care, loss of income, that kind of thing.
This is serious business, right? That's when there's debilitating injuries and so on, when the millions of dollars come into play in Canada.
Exactly.
What are most of the claims? Like if I run into somebody's car and do damage to their vehicle with my vehicle, my insurance or me out of pocket would pay for that, correct?
Yeah, the damage to the vehicle is usually settled without a lawyer.
Exactly, and you don't really need to. As a matter of fact, some people think you need all kinds of police activity around that sort of thing, and you really don't need to. But when it comes to injuries, that's when it crosses a certain line, correct?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, if there is any personal injury, if you feel after an accident any kind of twinge or pain or anything, do yourself a favor and call the police. A lot of people think, oh, the car's not that badly damaged, I'm not supposed to call the police. Damage to the car is one consideration, but your injury is the other. And if you've got even a little bit of neck pain, do yourself a favor. It is much more difficult to advance a claim later on if the police didn't attend.
I often see, you know, small collisions, so on, where, you know, probably not any personal injury, and people like even refuse to move their cars off to the side of the road or whatever. That's not necessary. But again, if there's any injury, don't do a thing.
Yeah.
Wait.
I mean, you know, it's hard. You don't want to make assumptions about what kind of accidents cause injury.
Mm-hmm.
You know, sometimes the actual physical damage that you can see to the outside of the car isn't that significant. But if you open the trunk, you can see that it's squished.
Yeah.
Or if there's a trailer hitches absorb a lot of damage, but
True.
the force on the person can still be really quite serious.
Mm-hmm.
So don't judge an accident by what you can see.